Hey there, I'm Pete Townsend, and this is Money Never Sleeps. We look inside the minds of entrepreneurs and at the crossover of startups, enterprise, finance, technology, and life as we know it. This episode of Money Never Sleeps is sponsored by Philip Lee, one of Ireland's fastest growing corporate law firms and expert advisors at the heart of the Dublin and London startup, fintech, and crypto communities. On the show this week, we've got
I'm Tim Goodman, and I'm the founder and CEO of YourDiamonds.com.
Your Diamonds is a platform enabling the diamond industry to solve old-world problems through digital technologies and Web3. Your Diamonds are the 8th of the founding teams forming the Launchpool Web3 Techstars Accelerator class of 2022 that we've got on the show over the next month. In this episode, I talked to Tim about having diamonds flowing through his veins, scaling by surrounding yourself with smart people, Cashflow finance is a problem to solve in the diamond industry, pairing NFTs as digital twins of real-world assets with smart contracts, and letting nature take its course to work out the ups and downs of crypto markets. All right here on Money Never Sleeps. So Tim, listen, I've been to Australia. Did I tell you that before?
No.
Yes, I spent a month in Australia back in February 2006, traveling from Sydney up to Townsville up near Cairns, and then off to Alice Springs and back down to Sydney through Melbourne, and then took off for Singapore after that. But I did stop in your place of residence, Byron Bay, for a couple of nights.
Yeah, great. I think it's wonderful that you did that. You'd have a little bit of knowledge about the Australian culture.
Absolutely. And having you on this program for the last couple of months, Tim, has brought it all back. So thank you. But just to get started, why don't you bring us through your backstory and how you got to this point where we're sitting here today having this chat?
Well, Pete, I've got diamonds flowing through my veins. I come from a family that founded a jewellery business in colonial Sydney in 1864. And my uncle was the last diamond merchant. He died about 15 years ago. I started sweeping the floors and cleaning the lavatories in an auction business in Sydney. And I guess it took about 30 years, but I ended up owning and operating the largest art and jewellery auction enterprise in the Southern Hemisphere, encompassing brands like Sotheby's Australia, Bonhams and Goodman, under license agreements with their head offices. And I think that the jewellery business was something that I was always focused on. I employed other people to do art, collectors' cars, coins, stamps, music, memorabilia, etc. But I was always very closely associated with the jewellery business, as that had been my heritage.
All right. And what brought you to the point of saying, hey, we're going to get your diamonds going and off the ground? What was it that happened over the last few years where you said, we're going to get this going?
Well, look, after doing numerous mergers and acquisitions and the establishment of new businesses, I sold all my auction houses to management buyouts, and I took some time off. And then I couldn't wait to disrupt the hell out of the business that I'd been in all my life. And that led me to online auction products and services way back about 10 years ago. And I've been involved with the launch and operation of numerous online businesses, originally with art. I had a couple of failures due to technology issues, failures that I learned a lot out of. And in recent years, I realised that if I gathered a really good team around me, like I did back in the day when I had the auction businesses, then I would succeed. And so in the last 12 months, we've raised some seed capital and we've built 5 really cool apps for the diamond industry, all around diamond pricing, benchmarks, and measurements of market sentiment, providing information basically for the diamond industry.
Very good. And you said just there that building your team around you was one of the big lessons learned from the different ventures that you'd been through in the past. Maybe talk a little bit about that and how you've assembled your team here.
Look, the thing that I learned in my last career was, in order to scale, you must surround yourself with very good people. You can't be great at everything. We all know that. So if you're going to scale and launch into areas to take market share from your competitors, you must surround yourself with the very best. And these people have been absolutely vital to get your diamonds to where it is today.
And you've got this, like you said, it's a collection of fintech apps. But can you tell us a bit about your diamonds as a decentralized finance platform and where that's all headed?
Look, I must say the most exciting venture that I've ever launched or been involved with is the concept of decentralized finance in the diamond industry. There is a massive problem at the moment in the diamond industry, or it's not just the moment, it's been evolving over some years, in that cash flow finance is very difficult to obtain. The traditional banks have reduced their exposure to the diamond industry from 16 billion to 8 billion per annum in recent years. And the mid supply chain operators, of which there are many thousands, are finding it very difficult to fund their cash flows. So we have conceived a concept whereby the borrower, a diamond merchant, can use the very thing that the borrower is borrowing the money to acquire, that is to say, a diamond, as collateral for a loan. I mean, it just makes common sense. It's like a diamond mortgage. And I have struggled for about 18 months to work out how to do this. And then at a moment in, I think it was October last year, I suddenly, by chance, came across some editorial in some media about blockchain technology. And suddenly I realized I had the answer to all my problems. This blockchain technology was going to solve the problem. And I just became totally immersed in the whole concept. I had to learn fast. I'm still learning. Thank you to Techstars as to how we can make this work. And I'm glad to say that I and we, my colleagues, and I have really advanced a lot in the last 4 to 5 weeks on the Techstars program. One of the problems has been that all the tech that's out there at the moment, all the projects, the technology that's out there at the moment is lacking in a couple of things. All the tech and projects out there with regard to the digitalisation of assets in preparation for trading them, they lack valuation engines. They also lack an understanding of the valuation and sale of secondhand goods, secondhand valuable assets. And so lucky me, they're the things that I understand because of my 40-year career. And so I'm applying my experience to this tech that is available. And I cannot tell you how exciting it is because it just solves all these problems that I used to have in my previous career. And I'm being helped with some really good people I mean, for example, I discovered a blockchain developer. I'd been searching the globe. I did a Google search. I gave up. I did a Google search. A guy came up who was really interesting. And anyway, we started communicating. Turns out he lives down the road. Unbelievable. And so he has been a great addition to the team.
Yeah, shout out to Sven. I chatted with him as well. He's a good guy. I can hear it in your voice, Tim, your conviction with this. And it reminds me of a founder I know well here in Dublin. Shout out to Greg Chu from QBQ. Greg started his vision in 2002 for what he wanted to build, and the technology wasn't available. Blockchain wasn't a thing in 2002. He spent 2002 to 2004 trying to figure this out and then packed it away, mothballed it for 10 years, 12 years even. And then when he saw a certain incantation of blockchain take hold in, I think it was 2017, when he was looking at one of the protocols specifically that he saw, wait a second, this might do the trick. That's where he went all in and has been pursuing the QPQ vision of his with conviction for the last number of years. And, the conviction in your voice is it a similar thing? And that this was a problem you always wanted to solve, this liquidity gap in the market when it comes to financing this period between the auction and the actual retail sale of the diamond? Is this something you always wanted to solve and was just killing you as a problem? And then finally the technology was there that you came across?
Yeah, look, Pete, my family lent money for generations using jewellery as collateral. I used to do it when I had my auction house. It was called a cash advance. Sotheby's and Christie's do it. I have done it for years. However, this concept is not scalable. It's all manual. And so what blockchain has done, it's enabled you to create a digital twin of the asset. And because of the blockchain related process, it has enabled this to be automated. And when you have automation, you get scalability. So that's the difference. And I find it very exciting because I'm going to mention non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible tokens, misconceived. At the moment, the world thinks non-fungible tokens are these mad things, and supply and demand's gone crazy and they're fetching big money. I call that the tulip boom of Amsterdam in the, I think it was the 17th century, in the 1600s. Those NFTs have no value except that collectors want to buy them and they bring a lot of money. The true value of an NFT is the ability to create a digital twin of any asset. Now that enables people to actually trade that physical asset with all sorts of good things. One of them is the history of that asset. You know, it's track and trace, it's history. The second thing is that you can attach that NFT to a smart contract. And then the world just opens up with so many options. It's fantastic. That's the future of the NFT. And, you know, you and I are old enough to remember our fathers and grandfathers would say, when they did a deal, they'd say, it goes with the original paperwork. You buy a car, a painting, you buy a piece of jewellery, it comes with the original paperwork. Well, the NFT is the original paperwork of the old days. And so that's where I see it going.
Hey everyone, this is Pete. Let me tell you about the folks at Philip Lee. A few years ago, I was at my first venture capital industry dinner in Dublin, and honestly, I felt a bit lost. I bumped into Andrew Tizali, one of the partners at Philip Lee. He bought me a pint and introduced me to the team, and they took me under their wing. That take you under their wing approach has been what I've heard consistently from fintech and crypto startups who I know have worked with Philip Lee in Dublin and London to help them wrap the right legal framework around their business, fundraising, and regulatory needs. And I can't recommend them enough. Get in touch with the team at philiplee.ie or on moneyneversleeps.ie/philiplee to learn more. You can see up on this wall behind me, that's an old map of Boston from, I think, definitely the 19th century. And I have stored behind that frame that you see up on the wall there is an envelope, and inside that envelope is the original paperwork. Okay.
Fantastic.
So,
when we start, you will be able to ask us to create an NFT of all the original paperwork that you can attach to the ownership of that map. And whenever you sell it, you can say it comes with the original paperwork. Here's the NFT. Where do you want it?
yep, absolutely. And big question, how do you solve that link? How do you create that indelible link between the physical asset and the NFT? As of right now, if I lose that envelope, I've got a problem. But you know, that to prove when that envelope becomes an NFT, digital work rather than paperwork, right? How do I make sure that that NFT and that map, that antique map up on the wall behind me, that those two are connected forever?
So look, a really good comment. Paperwork, the original paperwork, 90% of the time gets lost. And that has a detrimental effect to the value of the object. With regard to your map, if an NFT is created and it sits in your wallet, or perhaps there are circumstances where you're a map collector and you've got a dealer that you buy your maps from, you may wish to ask your dealer to keep your NFT in the wallet. And so if you've got it in your wallet, well, then you can't lose it. Well, it's obviously possible. We all know that things can happen with regard to wallets and access to them. But generally speaking, you can, you know, when you die and your children go, gee, that map's worth a lot of money, then hopefully in your will, you've given them access to your wallet. They can then provide the auction house, whoever it is that sells it, with that NFT.
Absolutely. And let's move to the collateral side and thinking about all this as collateral, right? How does the lender have faith that that NFT that they're using to secure the loan is actually linked to a quantity of diamonds?
All right. Well, look, this is, I could speak for an hour on this, but I'll give you a 3 minute summary. So you've got a borrower and you've got people that have assets and they want to lend. They want to get a return on their assets. And at the moment, they're not getting one or getting a poor one. The borrower is a diamond merchant and he has diamonds in his safe or he wants to buy a diamond from a third party. So we're creating a place where lenders and borrowers can negotiate a deal. There'll be the terms of the loan will be negotiated. So it'll be like a stock market book, buy sell book. And once there's agreement, then that triggers a bunch of stuff. Firstly, it triggers the lender or lenders to stake stable coin into a liquidity pool. Secondly, an auditor, so a human auditor, takes possession of the diamond and checks it out, and there's KYB on the parties. Thirdly, an insurer enters the fray. Lloyd's of London, a species insurer, provides insurance against default. Once the auditor checks all aspects of the borrower as required by the Diamond Collateralized Loan Protocol, then the loan funds are transferred to the borrower and the NFT is attached to the smart contract, which has been agreed and completed. The goods are then handed over to the borrower and the NFT is in the name of the lender until the completion of the smart contract. So the lender has title to the goods until such time that the lender completes the contract. In the event that the lender defaults, then the species insurance provides the lender with cover against the lender not being able to recover the collateral if the borrower has defaulted.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And the walkthrough of all of this, Tim, points to the fact that behind the scenes, decentralized finance can be very complicated. But the key is that you are abstracting that away from the end customer and that all the customer sees is an end experience that hopefully they're delighted with, right? I think that's the target of what you're aiming for, yeah?
Yeah, look, the borrower is a middle-aged schmuck in the diamond industry. He or she, unfortunately, mostly he in this business, he just wants the money. He wants fiat. And so that's no problem. The stable coins are converted to fiat. So he just gets his money. The lender has cash or crypto and they convert to stable coin and put in the liquidity pool. We can have several liquidity pools for different lending appetites. So the three components of the loan are debt to equity ratio, interest rate and term. And so there'll be different pools for different scenarios. Some pools will be fixed, some pools will be variable. I mean, it is just a classic, beautiful blockchain version of what happens in the old world. The old world,
Yeah.
I keep calling it.
And that's the idea. It's a foundational technology to be able to bring the old world into the digital world is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. What does this all look like at scale, Tim? What does this look like when there's a critical mass of real world assets, starting with diamonds, right, that are financed through a DeFi platform like your diamonds? What does this look like when it's really big?
Okay, so at the moment, the market's about 8.5 billion. We're going to disrupt that market. I believe we can take 10% very quickly. My colleagues agree. So one of the problems is that the auditor needs to be a human. And so how do we scale this? So we need to have hundreds, if not thousands, of auditors. We're already in discussions with some major enterprises who have massive databases of diamonds, including some of the big luxury brands who've got hundreds, if not thousands, of outlets. And we're going to talk about creating the outlets of some of the luxury brands to be auditors under a strict protocol. They will be able to use our system to create an NFT for diamonds and luxury goods that they sell over the counter. So when you buy a diamond or a luxury good over a counter, you get an invoice, and in many cases, you get a valuation. Well, now you'll be able to get an NFT, and the NFT will be given to the buyer into their wallet. If they don't have a wallet and they go, I've got no idea what all that is, then the NFT can be stored by the auditor, the retail outlet auditor, and in their wallet, which will help them maintain a relationship going forward with their customer. So the scalability is it's very big in that we believe we'll be able to do about $1 billion to $1.5 billion within a very short period of time. Eric Gents is heading up the execution of this with me as the former head of diamond industry and jewellery lending at ABN AMRO, the biggest traditional bank lender in this space in the world, $2 billion a year. And so we believe that we'll be able to achieve those numbers. Now, there is an extraordinary opportunity to apply this to many other assets and many other industries. There is no reason why we can't apply this to collectors' cars, wine, coins, stamps, art, and other weird things like water rights, carbon credits. Providing that there is a marketplace for that asset, whether it be a spot market or a semi-spot market, and the ability for us to create a valuation engine based on those markets, then this concept could apply to them. Oil and gas, shiploads of petroleum, shiploads of gas. I mean, anything that somebody needs to borrow money against to buy or to trade or whatever, this can be applied to them.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, like we're talking about digitalizing assets, creating this digital twin, and then using that to have this provenance between the actual physical asset and its digital twin so that you can increase the velocity of that asset in the market. And I, obviously totally get it for diamond market liquidity, but when you start thinking about the process of how that is applied in the diamond market, and obviously with your expertise in that space, then yeah, clearly you can see it transferring to other asset classes as well.
Well, Pete, it not only does it give you provenance and traceability, but it gives the lender the ability to obtain security, digital security, because the NFT is attached to the smart contract. You can't walk into a court with an NFT and say to the judge, I want to enforce my rights to go and collect these goods because the borrower has defaulted. But you can walk in with a smart contract, and an NFT is basically a smart contract anyway, but it's not. It's you can't print it out and go into a court and say, "Hey, judge, I've got an NFT." You've got to have an old-fashioned contract, and the NFT simply provides all the information. In the old days, it was called Annexure A, Annexure B, Annexure C, all the info. So actually, that's good. The NFT is like an annexure to the smart contract in old legal speak.
And a annexure. Yes, I haven't heard that word in a while.
Yeah.
Very good. Bringing it back to the here and now, Tim, what is the biggest challenge for 2022?
Okay, so the number one challenge is funding. I've got to get funding because when we launch this, we have to scale up really fast. I want this launched and scaled up very big by the middle of next year. The second challenge is to build the technology. Now, I've had 3 goes at building technology. The first 2 failed. I lost $1 million. The third
Mhm.
one, when I realised that I needed to surround myself with people that are a lot smarter than me, has worked. We've built 5 really fabulous apps. And with the digital marketing testing we're doing at the moment, we're getting a really good response. So I am currently surrounding myself with the best people I can find. That process will continue. So I have confidence that we're going to be able to build the tech. But we are getting into areas that others have not. We're treading the road in the forest that's less trodden on. And so but I love that. I get off on it. I love it. But it is risky and it worries me.
Okay. Do you feel like this is work for you?
I have an obsessive personality, which some people My ex-wife, for example, would argue that that's not a particularly good trait. However, in order to succeed with any enterprise really well, you've got to be obsessed. You've got to be totally obsessed. I work 7 days a week. I love what I do. I think it was Confucius that once said that if you choose a job that you really love, you'll never have to do another day's work in your life. I love it. I think it was him. And so I do that every day. I work 7 days a week. I punctuate it with a surf. I do a bit of surfing and diving, but even that gets in the way. So yeah, it's it's full on. And I'm 69 years old, but I feel like I'm 29 years old. And it makes me happy.
Yeah, you're a young 69, Tim. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Last question that we ask everybody on this podcast. What is one thing that people wouldn't expect to know about you? Don't tell me you're a dancer.
Well, look, when I was a young man, I was a party animal.
We were all, we're all young at some stage, but young at heart, young at mind. It's all relevant.
Pete, I lived in a tree house in Sydney, overlooking Sydney Harbour when I was in my 20s. It was known as the party house. And in those days, I wasn't obsessed with my job. I was obsessed with other things, which I don't want to go into now. And that was a different era. But as I came to the end of that decade, I fell in love with business. I connected with my family and my uncle, who was a diamond merchant. And that's when everything changed. So, it was sort of 30 that I really, and it took me pretty well from the day I started work, sweeping the floors at an auction house in Sydney. It took me 30 years to build that company up. And I had to be obsessed to do it. But it was a very successful venture. So I don't know. Look, people wouldn't know about me. I happiest when I'm fly fishing or diving. And in Australia, unfortunately, diving means being confronted by sharks. That's apart from being obsessed with business, that's my second most enjoyable pastime.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I do a bit of scuba diving myself and snorkeling, but it's been a long time, and the waters here in Ireland aren't very friendly to that. Although there are scuba diving clubs and snorkeling clubs, but the biggest first thing is to get yourself adjusted to the cold water, which I've done. But yeah, I think the return to scuba is next for me here.
Did you ever dive in Australia?
Yes, on the Great Barrier Reef, and I did see a
What was
shark.
that like?
That was amazing. It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
my wife's first time doing scuba. She had done snorkeling before when we lived in Bermuda. So she did just kind of like a beginner class and
Right.
stayed pretty close to the surface. I went down, a good, 90, 100 feet. And that was pretty cool being down there. And, I think we all know with this planet and the way it is that thing won't be there forever. So I'm glad that I did see it when it was still there.
Well, you see, I'm of the view that coral will adjust. There's
Will
a
it?
lot of science out there that suggests that it will. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. My religion is nature. Everything I do is governed by nature. What's happening now in the world with the crypto crash, the reevaluation of technology businesses, it's all nature. It's all predictable. Well, I predicted this. I knew it was going to happen. But it will come down and then things will sort itself out. Nature will prevail. It's just like the bush. It'll all be okay.
Yep. Yep. It all works out in the long run. One of the number one rules in my family is don't worry until something bad happens, right?
Yeah. Well, even then, when something bad happens, you can say, well, it can't get much badder. So it can only get better. That's the way to deal with bad.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, Tim, it's been awesome having you on the show. It's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining. Really looking forward to seeing you back here in Dublin in less than 2 weeks' time, which is going to be amazing for the last 2 weeks to finish the program. So looking forward to that. And we will be chatting to you very soon.
Thanks, Pete. And thanks to Techstars. It's been the most extraordinary experience.
Awesome. Love to hear that, Tim. Thanks so much. That does it for this week, folks. Thanks to Tim Goodman for opening up his mind to help us figure out why he does what he does. Links to get in touch with Tim and learn more about your diamonds are in the show notes at our website, moneyneversleeps.ie, so check us out online. Also, thanks to Conan Brophy from Create Sound for mixing and editing this episode. Conan is an excellent media man to get in touch with when you're thinking about launching your own podcast. As for me, I'm an early stage startup investor and advisor focused on where fintech meets crypto and crypto meets Web3. If you'd like to talk to me about your business, drop me a line on info@moneyneversleeps.ie. Finally, till next time, thanks for listening. See you.